Hi, and welcome back to Reddit Terrible Stories. I told my roommate's girlfriend she wasn't allowed to store her stuff in our apartment. When I agreed to move in with Tyler, my college friend from sophomore year, I thought I was getting a chill, easygoing roommate who liked video games and late night pizza. And for the first 6 months, that's exactly what I got. We split the bills evenly, kept the place relatively clean, and had an unspoken rule that if either of us had a guest over, it was fine as long as they weren't moving in. Then came April, and with it, Samantha. Samantha was Tyler's new girlfriend. She was sweet enough at first, polite, always smiling, making small talk when she came over. I didn't mind her being around. I mean, it was Tyler's life. But I started noticing something weird about her visits. She didn't just bring a purse or an overnight bag. She started bringing stuff. First, it was a couple of makeup bags and a hair straightener that she forgot in the bathroom. Then, a stack of textbooks appeared on the kitchen counter. A week later, I spotted a box of clothes shoved into the corner of the living room. At first, I told myself, it's fine. She probably just leaves things here when she's staying over. But the pile started growing. I came home one day and found a set of shoes lined up neatly by the door, none of them mine or Tyler's. Then, there was a duffel bag wedged between our couch and the wall. The turning point came when I opened our hall closet to grab my jacket and nearly got buried under a cascade of cardboard boxes. I pulled one open and saw it was full of random kitchenware plates, mugs, even a blender. The boxes were labeled Samantha's Kitchen. I stood there, stunned. We'd barely spoken more than 20 sentences since she started dating Tyler, and now half of her apartment, or maybe her entire apartment, seemed to be creeping into ours. That night when Tyler came home, I brought it up. Hey, what's with all the boxes in the closet? Oh, he said casually. Sam's apartment lease is ending soon, and she's not sure where she's moving yet. I told her she could store some stuff here for now. Some stuff, I repeated, raising an eyebrow. Tyler, she's taking over our space. I couldn't even find my jacket in there. He shrugged like it wasn't a big deal. It's just temporary. But I knew the word temporary in roommate situations often meant indefinitely. And judging by the rate her things were multiplying, I had a bad feeling we were about to become a free storage unit for Tyler's girlfriend. The problem was, I didn't want to cause tension between us. We were friends, and I'd seen what petty arguments about dishes or rent could do to friendships. But every time I tripped over another box or saw my kitchen counter covered in her mail, I felt my patience thinning. It wasn't my responsibility to house her belongings. I paid for half the apartment, not 2/3, and definitely not three-way storage space. That's when I decided I'd need to have a direct, no-nonsense conversation with Samantha herself. Tyler clearly wasn't going to set any boundaries, so it was up to me. The tricky part? I'd have to do it without making her feel like I hated her, because I didn't. I just hated that our apartment was slowly becoming hers, but I had no idea that telling her no would blow up into one of the biggest roommate fights I'd ever had in my life. I decided to catch Samantha when Tyler wasn't around, partly because I didn't want him to interfere, and partly because I thought she might take it better if it was just the two of us. One Saturday morning, I heard the door open while I was making coffee. Samantha came in holding another cardboard box, like a UPS delivery driver on a mission. Hey, I said, keeping my voice friendly. Got a minute? She smiled. Sure, what's up? I gestured toward the box in her arms. Actually, it's about this and the other stuff you've been leaving here. Her smile faltered just a little. Oh yeah, Tyler said it was fine. My lease ended and my next place won't be ready for a few weeks, so I'm just keeping a few things here. A few things? I gave her a look. Sam, the hall closet is full. The bathroom shelves are full. You've got boxes in the living room, your mail on the counter, and now you're bringing more. She shifted uncomfortably. I mean, I didn't think it was a big deal. Tyler said you wouldn't mind. I took a deep breath. I wanted to stay calm and not make it personal. Look, I get that moving is stressful, and I don't mind you keeping some stuff here temporarily, but this is getting out of hand. This is my apartment too, and right now I'm running out of space for my own things. Her smile was gone now. So, what are you saying? I'm saying you need to find somewhere else to store most of it. A storage unit, a friend's place, your parents' house, anything. You can keep a small bag here for when you stay over, but the rest has to go. For a moment, she just stared at me, like I'd told her I was evicting her from the country. Then, she let out a short laugh. Wow. Okay, I didn't think it was that serious. It is serious, I said, keeping my tone firm. I pay rent here. This isn't free storage space. Her expression tightened, and I could see her working through about 12 different comebacks in her head. Finally, she said, Fine, I'll figure something out. The way she said it didn't feel like fine. It felt like, fine, but I'm going to complain to Tyler and make this your problem. Sure enough, when Tyler got home later, he didn't even take his shoes off before saying, What's this about you telling Sam she can't keep her stuff here? I sighed. Tyler, this place is ours, not hers. She's taken over half the apartment, and I'm not okay with that. She's just in between places, he argued. It's not permanent. That's exactly what you said a month ago, I shot back. And every week more boxes show up. This is my home, not a warehouse. He rolled his eyes. You could have talked to me first. I did, I reminded him. You didn't see it as a problem, so I talked to her directly. His jaw tightened, and I could tell he was annoyed. But I didn't care. I wasn't about to live in a cluttered mess just because my roommate's girlfriend needed free storage. That night, the tension in the apartment was thick enough to slice with a butter knife. Tyler barely said a word to me, and I could hear him on the phone with Samantha for hours. I had a sinking feeling this was only the beginning of the drama. And oh, I was right, because the very next day, I discovered that Samantha's idea of figuring something out involved a little passive-aggressive creativity. The next day, I came home from work to find the apartment different. Not cleaner, not emptier, just rearranged in the most inconvenient way possible. The boxes that had been stacked in the living room were gone, but only because Samantha had decided to redistribute them into spaces I actually use. The hall closet? Packed tighter than a suitcase before a month-long trip. The top shelf in the kitchen, where I kept extra groceries, now crammed with mismatched mugs and kitchen gadgets I didn't recognize. Even the space under the bathroom sink had been taken hostage, stuffed with half-used bottles of shampoo and lotion that weren't mine. At first, I thought maybe Tyler had just tried to tidy up to make peace. But then I spotted a sticky note on the fridge in handwriting that was definitely Samantha's. Organize things so they're more efficient. Efficient, right. I stood there in front of the fridge, coffee thermos still in hand, wondering if I should laugh or scream. She hadn't actually removed anything. She'd just hidden it in my personal storage areas, forcing me to confront her stuff every time I opened a cabinet. It was like she was saying, oh, you don't want it in the living room? Fine. Let me make sure it's everywhere else. When Tyler got home, I wasted no time. Hey, did you see what Samantha did? He shrugged. She was just trying to help organize. You've been saying the living room looked cluttered. Tyler, she didn't organize. She invaded every single space I use. I had to move her hair products out of the way just to get to my toothpaste this morning. He frowned, clearly not seeing the problem. You're being a little dramatic. It's just temporary. She'll be out of here in a few weeks. That's what you've been saying for over a month, I snapped. She's not even your roommate. Yet she's taken over more of this place than either of us. Tyler crossed his arms. Look, I get that it's annoying, but can't you just deal for a little while? She's going through a rough patch. And I'm going through a living in my own home patch, I shot back, which means I get to decide what's stored here. He didn't respond to that, but the way his jaw tightened told me he wasn't happy. The conversation ended with him muttering something about me overreacting as he went to his room. The next morning, I noticed another shift. My coffee mugs were on a different shelf. The dish rack was rearranged. My jacket, which I'd hung by the door, had been moved to my bedroom. It was like Samantha was sending a silent message. This isn't really your space anymore. That was the last straw for me. If she thought I was just going to passively accept this slow takeover, she was wrong. I decided right then that I was going to start boxing up her things myself. And the next time I saw her, we were going to have a very different conversation. And as luck would have it, I didn't have to wait long. She showed up that evening, arms full of grocery bags, and with a tone that told me this was about to get even messier. Samantha breezed through the door like she lived there, her keys jingling in her hand, even though she didn't have a key to our apartment. Tyler must have let her in earlier in the week, and just left the door unlocked for her, something I was definitely going to address later. She set her grocery bags on the kitchen counter without even glancing at me, as if my presence in my own apartment was an afterthought. I decided to skip small talk. Hey, we need to talk about your stuff. She finally turned to face me, blinking innocently. My stuff? Yeah, the boxes, the closet, the kitchen shelves, and now, apparently under the bathroom sink? Her expression shifted to something between confusion and offense. I thought I was helping. You said you didn't want it in the living room, so I moved it to places that weren't in the way. Not in the way, I repeated, my voice rising. Samantha, those places are mine. That's my storage space. You're not supposed to just move in and take over every cabinet. She crossed her arms. It's not like you were using all of it. That's not the point, I said sharply. Even if a shelf is empty, it's not an invitation for you to dump your stuff there. This is my apartment. You're not on the lease, you don't pay rent, and your things are here without my permission. That last part made her lips press into a tight line. Tyler said it was fine. I almost laughed, but there was no humor in it. Tyler doesn't own this place either. His name isn't on the lease. If you want to store your things somewhere, you need to pay for storage or keep them at your own place. She gave a fake little chuckle, the kind that says, "Wow, you're being ridiculous, but I'll pretend to be nice about it. It's just for a short time. I don't see why you're making such a big deal." Because I've been patient for weeks, and it's only gotten worse, I said. So here's the deal. I'm giving you until the end of the weekend to get your stuff out. If it's still here after that, I'm moving it out myself. That got her attention. Her eyes widened, and she immediately went on the defensive. You can't just throw away someone else's things. I'm not throwing them away, I said calmly, though my hands were clenched. I'm packing them up and putting them outside. After that, it's up to you to deal with it. She huffed, like I'd just asked her to dismantle a bomb. I'll talk to Tyler. Go ahead, I replied. But the answer's not changing. And with that, she grabbed her grocery bags, half of which were now taking up my fridge space, and stormed into Tyler's room. I could hear them whispering furiously, her voice climbing higher every few seconds. I didn't catch the full conversation, but I did hear Tyler say something about me being controlling and not letting people have a little space. That stung, but it also confirmed that he wasn't going to back me up on this. Fine. If they weren't going to respect my boundaries, I'd enforce them myself. And by the look of the calendar, I had exactly 3 days until Sunday to get ready for a clean sweep. The countdown had begun. The next morning, Tyler emerged from his room, looking like he'd been up all night, which he probably had. I was making coffee when he sat down at the counter, rubbing his face. Look, he started, Sam's feeling attacked. She doesn't think she's done anything wrong. I kept stirring my mug. Of course she doesn't. She's been slowly moving her life in here without asking, and you've been letting her. His jaw tightened. It's not like she's living here. She just needs somewhere to keep her stuff for a while. Tyler, I don't care if it's for a week or a year. It's not happening, I said flatly. I didn't sign up to be your girlfriend's storage unit. You're both acting like this is your place to decide. He let out a frustrated sigh. Why can't you just compromise? One closet and some kitchen space isn't the end of the world. I turned to face him fully. Here's my compromise. She has until Sunday. After that, I'm moving everything out. That's it. His brows shot up. You're actually serious about that? Dead serious. He sat back, shaking his head like I was the unreasonable one. You know she's going to take this personally. She should. It is personal, I said. It's about respecting my home. For the rest of the day, there was a noticeable chill in the air. Samantha didn't show up, which I took as a small blessing, but Tyler barely spoke to me. At one point, I saw him on the phone, speaking in a low voice, and I could guess exactly who he was talking to. By Friday night, Samantha made her grand return arms full of shopping bags, like she was adding to her hoard instead of reducing it. I intercepted her at the door. You can't bring more stuff in, I said. She looked me dead in the eye. I'm taking some of my things back tomorrow, but I'm leaving a few things here for now. Tyler said it's fine. My voice dropped. Tyler doesn't get to decide. This is my apartment. Your apartment that you share with him, she shot back. I took a slow breath, holding back the urge to yell, Sam, I'm done talking about this. Sunday is the deadline. End of story. Her smile was tight, almost smug. We'll see. And that was it. I knew then that she wasn't planning on moving a single box voluntarily. She was betting on Tyler defending her, on me backing down to avoid a full-blown fight. What she didn't realize was that I'd already decided exactly how Sunday was going to go, and she wasn't going to like it. Sunday morning came, and I woke up earlier than usual. I made myself a strong cup of coffee, put on some music, and got a stack of cardboard boxes ready. If Samantha thought I was bluffing, today was going to be a very rude awakening. Tyler was still asleep when I started. I went straight for the hallway closet first. Her fortress of purses, jackets, and random junk. Each item went into a box without hesitation. I didn't care if it was designer or dollar store, sentimental or replaceable. If it wasn't mine or Tyler's, it was out. Halfway through the process, Tyler stumbled out of his room, hair sticking up, eyes squinting. "What the hell are you doing?" "Evicting your girlfriend's stuff," I said calmly, still packing. "You can't just throw her things around," he protested, stepping forward like he might try to stop me. I set a box down and straightened up. "Actually, I can. I told you the deadline was Sunday. It's Sunday." He rubbed his forehead, muttering something about me being dramatic, but didn't try to physically interfere. I think he realized I wasn't in the mood for negotiation. By the time I hit the kitchen, Tyler had disappeared, probably texting Samantha play-by-play. I boxed up the blender she left on the counter, the cute mugs she bought without asking, even the stash of snacks she'd taken over my pantry with. An hour later, everything was in the living room, neatly stacked and ready to go. That's when Samantha arrived. She walked in with Tyler right behind her, both of them wearing identical expressions of disbelief. "What is this?" she demanded, pointing at the boxes. "Your stuff," I said simply. "You can take it now, or I can leave it outside for you." Her mouth fell open. "You have no right to touch my things." "Oh, I have every right," I replied, my tone icy. "You don't live here, Sam. You never asked me if you could store your stuff here. I set a deadline. You ignored it." "So, here we are." Tyler jumped in. "Come on, you could have handled this like an adult." I cut him off. "This is me handling it like an adult. I didn't throw anything away. I didn't damage anything. I just moved it out of my space. Now, are you going to take it, or should I put it on the curb?" Samantha looked like she was about to explode, but after a tense silence, she grabbed one of the boxes. Tyler followed suit, though he kept muttering about how unbelievable I was. It took them 3 trips to get everything to her car. By the time the last box was gone, the apartment felt lighter, physically and emotionally. When Tyler came back inside alone, he glared at me. "You just made this a war." I sipped my coffee, unbothered. "No, Tyler. You both did. The moment you decided my boundaries didn't matter." And that was the last time Samantha's things crossed my doorway. For the first 2 days after the Great Purge, the apartment was eerily quiet. Tyler barely spoke to me, only muttering short answers if I asked him something necessary, like whether the rent had been paid. I didn't mind the silence. It felt like a breath of fresh air compared to the constant tension of the past month. But of course, the peace couldn't last forever. On Wednesday evening, I came home from work to find Tyler and Samantha sitting together on the couch. It was the first time I'd seen her since she'd hauled her boxes out, and judging by her crossed arms and the icy glare she shot me, she wasn't exactly here to exchange pleasantries. "We need to talk," Tyler said, his tone clipped. I kicked off my shoes and set down my bag. "About what? I thought we already made it clear." "You humiliated me," Samantha cut in sharply. "You humiliated us. Do you know how it felt to carry my stuff out of here like I was some intruder?" "That's because you were an intruder," I said, keeping my voice calm. "You weren't paying rent, you weren't contributing to the space, and you didn't ask before using it for storage. I gave you weeks of notice, and you ignored it. That's on you." Tyler shifted uncomfortably, but still backed her up. "You made her feel unwelcome in her own boyfriend's home." "Correction," I replied. "This is our apartment. Yours and mine, not yours and Samantha's. She's a guest here, and guests don't get to take over the place." Samantha scoffed. "It's not like I was hurting anyone by leaving a few things." "A few things?" I interrupted, gesturing toward the empty hallway closet. "That closet was crammed full. Half the kitchen counter was yours. The pantry was turning into your personal grocery store. You were hurting me by taking away the space I pay for." Her face tightened, but she clearly wasn't ready to admit fault. Instead, she shifted the attack. You're just jealous because Tyler and I are together and you're alone. I actually laughed. Wow, that's your angle? You think I boxed up your stuff because I'm lonely? No, Samantha. I boxed it up because you overstepped and Tyler let you. End of story. Tyler stood, clearly fed up. This isn't working. Either you lighten up, or we're going to have a problem. I met his stare without blinking. We already have a problem. The question is whether you're willing to fix it, or if you'd rather keep pretending that your girlfriend's comfort matters more than basic respect for your roommate. There was a long, heavy pause. Finally, Samantha grabbed her bag and muttered something under her breath before heading for the door. Tyler hesitated for a second, then followed her without another word. As the door closed, I realized that whatever was left of our easy roommate friendship had just cracked clean down the middle, and part of me was fine with that. The next few days felt like living in a Cold War. Tyler and I barely crossed paths, and when we did, our conversations were limited to things like trash day or we're out of milk. It was strange, like we were strangers who just happened to share a kitchen and a lease. By Saturday morning, I thought maybe the tension would just fade if we both ignored it long enough. That illusion shattered when Tyler knocked on my bedroom door. We need to talk, he said, standing in the hallway with his arms crossed. I set down my coffee mug. Sure, what's up? He stepped in and closed the door behind him. Never a good sign. I talked to Samantha. She says she's not comfortable coming over anymore because of the way you treated her. And I don't want to have to choose between my girlfriend and my home life, so something's gotta change. I already felt my blood pressure rising. Tyler, I'm not making you choose. You can see her whenever you want. The only thing I said was that she's not allowed to store her stuff here. That's it. That's the whole rule. She thinks you overreacted, he said firmly. And honestly, so do I. If you just let her put a few things here, it wouldn't be the end of the world. You could be more flexible. I stared at him. Do you seriously think this is about flexibility? This is about boundaries. I've never stopped her from visiting. I've never told you she can't sleep over. All I've asked is that she not turn my living space into her free storage unit. He sighed. Well, she's not going to be comfortable coming here if she feels like you hate her. I don't hate her, I said, my patience thinning. I just don't like having my home treated like a dumping ground. And if she's uncomfortable because she can't take advantage of the space, that's not my problem. That's when Tyler dropped the bomb. Okay, well, if you can't compromise, then maybe you should start looking for another place. Samantha and I are talking about moving in together, and it would be easier if you weren't in the picture. For a moment, I just sat there in stunned silence. Then the anger hit me like a wave. So, let me get this straight. You want me to move out of the apartment I helped choose, that I pay half the rent for, because your girlfriend can't keep her stuff in her own place? Tyler shrugged as if it were just common sense. It's about harmony. Right now, there's no harmony here. I stood up, my voice sharper than I intended. If you want harmony, Tyler, maybe start by respecting the person who's been living here with you long before your girlfriend came into the picture. I'm not moving out and I'm not bending on this rule. If that's a deal breaker for you, then you can be the one to leave. His jaw tightened, and without another word, he walked out and slammed the door behind him. It was clear now this wasn't just a roommate disagreement. It was a countdown to one of us packing our things for good. After Tyler's ultimatum, the apartment felt heavier, like the air itself was tense. Every creak of the floorboards, every clang of the dishes in the sink, every muffled laugh from the living room when Samantha visited grated on me. It was like I could feel my home slipping out from under me. The following week, Samantha started coming around even more often. I didn't know if it was to push my buttons or if Tyler was just trying to prove some kind of point, but she'd leave her shoes in the hallway, her makeup on the bathroom counter, her tote bag on the kitchen table. And while none of these things were huge on their own, together they formed this growing pile of disrespect that I couldn't ignore. One night I came home from work late. I was exhausted, my brain fried, my back aching. I opened the door to find two huge plastic storage bins stacked in the corner of the living room. My heart sank. I didn't even have to open them to know whose they were. Tyler was on the couch, playing video games with his headset on. I walked over and tapped him on the shoulder. "What's this?" I asked, pointing to the bins. He paused his game and glanced over. "Samantha's. She's reorganizing her place and needed somewhere to keep them for a while, just temporary. Tyler, we've talked about this." My voice cracked with frustration. "No storing her stuff here." "It's just for a week," he said, shrugging. "She's in the middle of a deep clean and didn't want these in the way." A week turns into two. Two turns into a month, and suddenly half the apartment is her personal storage unit. We agreed. Actually, no, I said. This wasn't happening. And you said you understood. He rolled his eyes. "You're making a huge deal out of nothing." "It's not nothing," I snapped. "It's my space, my home. And you're letting someone who doesn't even live here take it over. If you can't respect my boundaries, then maybe you're right. This living arrangement isn't going to work." He put the controller down and leaned back, crossing his arms. "So what, you're kicking me out now?" "I'm saying," I replied evenly, "that one of us is going to have to leave if this keeps happening. And considering I'm not the one breaking agreements, it's not going to be me." The next morning, the bins were still there, and something inside me snapped. If Tyler and Samantha weren't going to respect my rules, I was going to make it impossible for them to ignore them. I woke up Saturday morning with a plan. The bins in the corner of the living room were like an itch I couldn't scratch. I'd barely slept, lying awake imagining all the ways this would keep spiraling if I didn't put an end to it. Tyler was still asleep, his door shut. I quietly got dressed, grabbed my keys, and went over to the bins. They were heavy, but I managed to drag them toward the front door. I didn't even open them. I didn't care if they were full of priceless family heirlooms or a collection of winter coats. They didn't belong here. I hauled them down to the building's storage room in the basement and slid them into an empty corner. I taped a note to the top. "Not for apartment storage. Belongs to Samantha. Please contact the front desk for pickup." Then I went upstairs, brewed coffee, and sat at the kitchen table, scrolling through my phone like nothing had happened. About an hour later, Tyler stumbled out of his room, hair messy, still in pajama pants. He walked into the living room, stopped, and spun around. "Where are the bins?" "In the building's storage," I said, taking a sip of coffee. "You what? Why would you do that?" His voice shot up an octave. "Because we agreed she wouldn't store her stuff here," I said calmly. "She doesn't live here, Tyler. I'm not paying rent, so half our living room can be a storage locker for your girlfriend." He groaned and grabbed his phone. "You're unbelievable. I'm calling her." "Go ahead," I said, standing up. "And while you're at it, maybe let her know she has until the end of the day to pick them up, because the building won't hold them forever." That was the breaking point. He called Samantha on speakerphone, and she immediately started in on me, accusing me of being territorial, rude, and jealous of her relationship. I laughed, which only made her angrier. "Samantha," I said, cutting her off, "this isn't about your relationship. It's about boundaries. You don't live here, and you don't get to treat this apartment like your storage shed. If that's a problem for you, take it up with Tyler, but I'm done repeating myself." That night, Tyler told me he'd be moving out by the end of the month. I told him that was probably for the best. And when he finally left, taking his furniture, his dishes, and every last trace of Samantha's stuff, I sat alone in my living room, looked around at the space that was fully mine again, and felt the most peaceful I had in months. It wasn't just about the bins. It was about respect. And if someone can't respect your boundaries in your own home, they don't belong there.